Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, the one and only Double R, Mr. Rob Reese. Just the two of us again, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I think we've upset John.
Honestly, we must have. It's either that or it's because Abravan, they just can't get a win at the minute, can I? Oh, we're
We've
being
been taken
mean
off the air, Mark. We've
already.
been taken off the air.
Taken off there. Well, I think we that was a nice little intro chat. Let's dive into a little thing called rugby, shall we? So
Yes.
where do we go? Should we go straight for the no? We leave the Friday night game last. We'll go for the one game that the man who wasn't here last week actually got the prediction right on. He, Mr. John Bucky Harris, predicted a draw for 3 games, and he actually got one. He didn't predict it. We thought we'd mess him up. But no, we messed ourselves up instead. Bridgend and Swansea, 29 all at the Brewery Field. Honestly, by all accounts, it looked as though Bridgend had really picked things up. They got off to a hell of a start. Obviously Swansea crept back into a little bit, but then Bridgend kind of realized what they had to do. I think, what was it, like 29-17, something like that, going into the last 10. And did I think Swansea have a conversion to win the game? Or was it a conversion to draw? I'm trying to think now, and I've lost it on my head. It was one of the two. Let's just say that. So 29 all it finished. So obviously
First win
improvement
of the season.
improvement for Bridgend, because then they haven't been winning much at all this season.
They're off the bottom.
They're off the bottom, and that is a big thing. Honestly, me and you both called Swansea wins, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen. So well done to Bridgend.
Scott is going to be bubbling over this one because, as you say, right, you're 2 tries up with 10 minutes to go in your own backyard when you're struggling for form. You've only got 2 wins all season. And he's mentioned about discipline, and we've mentioned it so many times where it's not even like they just, oh, it's the entire game. It's like that 15, 20 minutes of like you just giving away a penalty a minute. And like people may think we're exaggerating there. We're not exaggerating. They have been going for like a 10, 12 minute period where they've been giving away a penalty a minute. And in the last 10 minutes, they've had a yellow card and a red card. And you can just see that that screw is turning. Swansea get that first score, and you're going, hang on a minute, this is game on, but and of course, if you're following on social media, you don't really have an idea of how much stoppage time we've played and stuff like that.
No,
It was a nasty injury. Was it Ben
Ben
Evans?
Evans.
Was it broken ankle? I think it came out as. So it's hopefully he has a swift recovery, but it's one of those you never know how long this game's going on when you're looking at the Twitter feed and going, this game probably should have finished 10 minutes ago. And yeah, it comes up 29 all, and it's that one you're snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, and it all comes down to that discipline again. You cannot be in a position where you're letting a side have enough ball to put you under the pressure. You've got 2 cards, you go down to 13 men for the rest of the game. You just cannot do it. And is this is the little things between a side that's gonna shoot up the table and be that top six, top four, and the teams that are gonna languish. And this is probably a reason why Bridgend, if they can't resolve this, are gonna be bottom one or two. I'll be honest. Um, you can't be giving the opposition that many opportunities. I mean, if this is earlier in the game and Swansea are knocking those at goal, you're giving 3, 6, 9 points away like that. If you're kicking for touch against a really good side, all of a sudden you're 12 points in a matter of minutes, and it's just giving teams a bit of a comfortability and platform that they can build from. So yeah, Bridgends are really going to be disappointed on this one, but I think it'll do Swansea good. I think we said Swansea had a bit of a run. They did the double over Newport, had 3 wins in a row. Were playing for the records that they hadn't had for about 6 years, 7 years of 4 wins in a row. Thinking, oh, here we go. And they obviously hadn't picked up a win since. And then it's like the performances going back to those last year of the performances are there, but the results just weren't quite coming, or they just wasn't good enough. And you can see again, they've got that bit of firepower, and they can hurt people when it matters. And they just got to control the game a little bit better, you, because ultimately, I think if they hadn't let this one get away from them early doors and play a bit smarter and manage the game a little bit better, then they walk away with a win. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it is actually fun watching along on social media when you see like try 80 plus 8 and think, oh, okay, game's over here. And then you see like 80 plus 16, like what the hell is going on? So that is one of the fun sides of some following some of these clubs. But yeah, it's going to be hard for Scott and, Bridgend to take giving up that lead in the end. And it will always come back to discipline because, we do see it. You read the match reports. Obviously, you follow on social media. If you have a little look at the end of the game, you like scroll down that little match report with the other team sheet. You'll just see a random couple of cards pop up alongside names, and you'll be like, then you find out the times that they actually given, and you're thinking, you can't do that at any level. You're going to get punished. Swansea performances have been better this season in those defeats. I mean, I do still feel strongly that they'll come on. But we have a first on the pod this season. We have finally heard from someone at Swansea. Yay, Mr. Player Coach Joe Thomas. So I do have a little bit of a comment from him on this game, if you let me find it. And it's probably going to match up with more or less what's just been said. So, I got to click on a button now. Click on a button. So, hard life, it says. Hard life. So had a reasonably positive first block with a few wins. Really happy where we were at. Spoke about some improvements during the break, which we tried to implement against Bridgend. But in fairness, they're a tricky team to play, especially away from home. Starved us of possession in the first half with their kicking game and pinned us in at 22. We were slow starting, which isn't what we wanted, but we grew into the game and weathered the storm well. Once we got some rhythm in the second, we managed to score some good tries. Our line-up maul was good, getting 2 of those tries. And then to go 80 meters, 20 odd phases in the final 3 minutes of the game, was incredible. The boys were really proud of it. And it's probably the best version of ourselves in those last 10 minutes. Result was probably fair in the end, and we'll take the 3 points. So, I mean, he seems fairly reserved in that. But, I don't think we've had the full highlights out of this
They
one.
are,
But,
yeah, they are now.
oh, there we go. But,
They've been on some random spree of uploading random games. November's games are all over the shop, but I've put them on my timeline now, one by one, and it's
one
like
by one. Yeah,
mind-boggling.
I forget trying to see. So it was something like he said, 80 meters for that final try, 20 odd fairnets, final few minutes of the game. That's a belief in your squad and a belief in yourself and your coaches and your systems, and that's what I'm clinging to by year for Swansea. Because if you're able, it doesn't matter who you're up against. You could be up against the bottom of the table or the top of the table. If you were able to do that when you've been down all game, I don't think they were in the lead once during that game. So to actually be able to do that at the end, to just claw back that draw, that's absolutely massive. And things are only going to get better as you keep moving forward. So yeah, I think things not quite as positive as the double over Newport, but a lot more positive than the first half of last season. But we're into block 2 now. This isn't these are games 8, 9, 10. Well, I think 9 in a round 9. I should actually say that right. So it's not as though you can like, oh, we'll catch up later. You're in the midst of it now. Anything you've lost at this point, you're already catching up on, and losing any more is just going to put you in a position where you're not going to get a crack at the top 4, and you lose too much between now and Christmas. It's only 3 games, and you're not going to have a crack at top 6. You're going to be completely out of it. So that was a lovely 29-all draw. Thanks for messing us up on that one. Bloody Bridgend and Swansea. Okay, travel
Yeah,
a bit.
Don stayed above me in the prediction lead as well.
I know just from that, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. So we'll travel a bit further west to Llandyfri, where they took on Pontypool, and it was more or less as predicted. To
Yeah,
be fair, Llandyfri, they go out, they get their first few tries, they build that comfortable lead, 2010 at half time, and they just build upon it and build upon it into the second and end up getting a 6 pointer. No, two tries for Kieran Abraham, two tries for Harry Holden. I'm bloody saying the wrong names all the time by you. And one for Hooker Cam Lewis. You've got a nice start on Llandovery and Ebbw Vale Hookers. I'm sure you'll give us at some point during this little podcast. But, 5 tries at home, 6 points in the bag, probably expected. Uh, Jack Maynard doing the kicking in this one. All 5 conversions and 3 penalties. Hell of a haul for him. Starting at 15 for the first time this season. So, obviously good to see him get some time, in, a number 15 jersey. But Pontypool have been really, like, just looking at the table, Pontypool have been really poor this season. I think, what is it, 3 wins from 8?
yeah.
That's not the Pooler we're used to.
Only 16 points as well. Like I know the weird thing is one of their wins was a 6 pointer, the other two were 4 pointers. So that's 14 points from wins this season. So in their 5 losses, they've only got 2 points. That's just not good enough. For a side that's been consistently fifth, was it the last 2, 3 years they've been fifth?
Yeah, something like that.
And they've been considerably above six, but not close enough to fourth, I'll be honest. They've they've just we've mentioned it, they've poorly recruited and they're suffering as a result. Like you can't expect to go to a side like Land every week, and we all called it, except for John who called the draw.
I know.
It's Landovery score a lot of points at the moment. They're conceding quite a lot more than they would like, but as a young team, and I think Euros Evans has said he's very much mixing in the local boys, whether that be a Landovery uh, owned player through the local clubs or the actual Scarlets allocation. They're giving those boys a chance with their experience. And we've been talking off air around losing key players the last couple of seasons and where they're sort of coming through and having to sort of forge new relationships. But I'll be honest, I think this is a massive one for Landovery because you've got to make hay whilst the sun shines. It was obviously a week that Ebbw Vale weren't playing, so they closed that gap, even though obviously the fixture is still in hand for Ebbw Vale. But just you just get your points on the board, put as much pressure as you can. 6 points, you're done. You've closed the gap to 3. You go back above Quins, and sort of the bonus points are ticking over. And that's the other key thing. We mentioned the bonus points for Pontypool. So Llandovery and Carmarthen are both 6 games won, 2 games lost, and there's 4 points between them. You know what I mean? So that's the value of the bonus points this year. There's bonus points everywhere. There's 2 chances if you're losing and 2 chances if you're winning. That's a lot of points to be picking up. And whilst Pontypool are down there, you got to be taking those opportunities, and they are. You get your tries going. Jack Maynard keeps the scoreboard ticking over as well, because Landovery are a side that like mixing in the odd penalty here or there, keeping it going, keep that clock ticking. But yeah, Pontypool really disappointing yet again. You'd be happy with 24, and I thought last year, 24 points scored, and I thought last year Pontypool were quite renowned for being a tough defensive side. They love going through sets, were pretty well disciplined, a good set piece, love their rugged physicality, the tackles, the contact zone, all of that. But this year they're just getting mullered. It's like they've not found a balance. The front row I still think is their issue, and I'll be mentioning it every pod until they resolve it. It is still the issue, and you can't expect to go. I'll be honest, to any of the top 5 sides, that's Ebbw Vale, Llandovery, Quins, Cardiff, and Aberavon, without a good pack. You just can't.
Yeah,
And yeah, the surface doesn't suit Pooler either. Like at the moment, they can't play good rugby in Pooler Park. And if they can't get a really good 80-minute performance out on artificial turf, so you can't even say the conditions have been against them and they've got the right players and the wrong sort of ground. It's they just can't get into games, and ultimately I don't think they were ever truly in this. And that's the problem. I feel if you go back, was it was it last year or was it the year before? It was last year, wasn't it? The quarter final up at Landovery. And
Yeah,
you had that they was in the game. Even
the
though
first
Land
half,
like
yeah.
Pontypool were all territory. I felt Landovery were better converting their points. Scott Matthews was offside, but he had his try disallowed. So you think, oh, that could have been a turning point. You think, oh, hang on, Poole are in this right now. They score a try you and they're winning because the Scott Matthews try would have given them the lead with it. And then all of a sudden, like you're looking at it, like you go away in the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes, bam, bam, two tries and they're gone. At least with that, you can go, boys, we went in till the end and we fought them for 75 minutes. With this one, it's sort of like, I'm not saying that Landovery steamrolling them and it was gone, but you can't go to Church Bank and play a two-score game. You just can't. It's nip and tuck rugby because unless you have them on a day like Cardiff did last year where you just blow them away, you're not going to be pulling back, two try games up at Church Bank.
No, it's just not happening. It's really, really hard to see Pontypool at this. Like, obviously, I mean, everyone's obviously new to Super Rugby Cymru, but in terms of the top flight, they're still pretty young, given where they were for so many years. So even though they did have those good few fifth finishes, they're still quite young, being at this level again. Need to say. But like we saw earlier with Newport, it took a Gwent derby to reinvigorate them. So maybe it'll do the same for Pula. Who knows? So our final game from this past week was the televised one. And what a game this was. This was the definition of
Tasty.
intense. It was absolutely unbelievable. And so I'll just cut straight to the chase. Newport win 19-12, 14-0 at half time. I have no idea how the scoreline was that close. Honestly, it felt as though Newport left about 1,000 tries out on that pitch. They, the Newport from the first 5 games of the season, they're dead. They are gone. They don't exist anymore. They never existed as far as this 23 is concerned. They were absolutely on fire. You sort out those handling issues, and quite frankly, you've basically made Cardiff look like a fourth tier side. It was so dominant in places, and I'm happy in terms of the league to see Newport back, but I'm worried to see Newport back at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those games you look at the score and you wouldn't necessarily assume that this was a cracking game of rugby, but it really was. And like you said, Newport scored that second try. At that time Cardiff hadn't scored, and you go in, they're going to pull away here. And I think this is a sign that Newport they're a developing team. They're coming back from all those 5 games lost in a row, and they aren't finishing as many chances as Newport of last year, but they're starting to get it. And when they are playing the rugby, it's bloody good rugby. You're seeing that bit more of a physical edge. I think Josh Skinner the last couple of games has been absolutely
Oh
outstanding.
yeah,
He's gone from he hasn't had a poor season, but he's usually he's a team of the season sort of level contender. He struggled this year. I thought his Swansea performances were poor. He's been below par. And these last couple of games, he's been arguably Newport's best player. He's been right up there, getting in the face of the opposition, that sort of hard line carrying. And Cardiff, the only thing credit to Cardiff is the defence was really good in holding Newport out long enough for these tries to matter. I mean, Alan Rees scores that first one. You're going, how? How are Newport not miles ahead in this? How have Cardiff just clawed their way back to within one score? And I'll be honest, it was that sort of that 20-minute period then where it was back. Newport had a bit of a phase of possession. Then Cardiff, and you're going, if Newport don't score theirs, it's a bit like American football. It's if you go three and out and then the other team goes up and scores, thinking, hang on a minute, we got to do something here. Otherwise, when they get their little 5-10 minute spell, if they score, we're in trouble. Um, but it was one of those ones. Then it's sort of Newport just had enough, a bit of quality, and I got to say, I think Finn Baker's looking really good at the moment as well. Come up from Eartha, and
Oh, what a performance.
six tries to his name this season, and he's just looking really good. He's looking every part of an SRC winger. He's got a bit of pace, he's got the power, he's scoring your tries. And I'll be honest, the only disappointing thing about this game was that Sean Moore went for the stamp. Like it is silly. He went back for seconds. Like I don't. He doesn't make the contact that we've seen in other games in this league punished this year. But it's sort of just ended Cardiff's momentum then, and then Newport saw it out. They marshalled it out, and that's a sign of a team that's confident. Is this is a big derby game for Newport. And, Cardiff Newport is the traditional Boxing Day game, right, for them. It's that big. It's the city derbies. All the history is there, and this one wasn't done. You know, when that red card was there, so they had to see it out. And that they wouldn't have seen this game out at the start of the season, and they are doing that now. And as you say, they've got some decent wins in them three games. They started it with Ebbw Vale. They've got a Cardiff win in there. That's two of the top four. So I think we'll see this Newport team go on a little bit of a run. I think they're a bit more settled now. I think you're starting to see the partnerships again. I think Shea Hope coming in the last couple of games has been outstanding, and I think that's the only thing I would be looking out for if I was a Newport supporter is that cover at 9. If Shea has to go back with the Dragons and around, obviously, all these games that they're playing now with, out the window, or once the boys go back in the spring for the Six Nations camp, stuff like that, it's just making sure your scrum half cover, Dav Buckland or players like that are going to start filling in where he's been leaving off because he really has elevated them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about Sean Moore. It's uncharacteristic for one, but I think it was more of a sign of how dominant Newport really were in this game. Like you don't generally see players like that frustrated to that level, and you could. I know we could argue we've seen a lot of holding, and maybe that needs to be dealt with. You grown men deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
you can't stamp on a player and you can't stamp on their head, right? But it's a sign of the pressure. We've seen it with Corey Baldwin with his. It was when his team were under the cosh, the stamp comes out, and immediately you see the player like basically go, ah, shit, like, what have I done? Like, and it's silly. There's no TMO at SRC games, so in fairness to the referees as well, and the officials, they're picking it up. And I think this is the key thing is consistent.
yeah, it is. So
We've seen it consistent. We've seen it in the Wales games this year. We've seen it in the autumn internationals. And you go in, this is consistent. You cannot do that. Whether you make content or not, foul play is a red card. An attempt at foul play is a red card.
fully deserved. So probably expecting another 3-match ban. Then, seeing as that's what we've been told, Mr.
Yeah.
Corey Baldwin has had. So that's going to be hard for Cardiff because they went for a fair while without their captain, and now he's going to be
Well,
gone again.
that's it. They started the season without Craighead, without who's the actual captain at the start of the season. That's who was going to be captain. They had no Nathan Hood, no Aled Ward, no Alan Rees, no Sean Moore to start the season off. They all came back together. They were all ready for the Ebbw Vale hiding back down at their place before they chickened out. And before you know it now,
So,
like he's probably going to be missing for a couple more games.
so are you trying to tell me that all those boys back fit got together and pushed a post over?
Yeah,
That's 100% what we're saying. But no, honestly, we've said the, the the level of rugby we're seeing is absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't seen this game and you get a chance, have a watch. there hasn't been a poorer SRC game on TV or online, however we're going to say it, this season, and
Mhm.
it's getting better and better, and that's what I'm loving. It's absolutely brilliant. So that's
But that's
our
that's
oh,
just it. All right, it is. You look at the next few games as well, and where the teams are. You've got Ebbw Quins this week, which we'll cover. You've got Aberafan, Ebbw Vale then down at Tag, and again that's tasty. That's going to be a big physical clash. Quins and Cardiff, again that's third versus fourth as we're speaking. Then we got three games then on actual S4C TV: Cardiff Bridgend, RGC Newport, Llandovery, Ebbw Vale. And I'll be honest, I mean, the Cardiff Bridgend game could be a bit of a blowout at the moment, the way that Bridgend are playing, but they're very good at playing good rugby at times. So if they turn up, they can get it a good fixture. And again, RGC, if it was at Newport, you probably go in a different game, but it's up at RGC. So all of a sudden, you're going, well, that's another tasty game.
you're going to see a lot of good rugby, an absolute load
A load of
of
good
good
rugby,
rugby.
and you're going to see Carmarthen Quins play on Thursday, right, man? Hey!
You're going
Don't
to
think I'm
always
going to ribbon you just because you're on the podcast, Martin. Just because you're on the pod. If anything, I'm going to go even harder at you for Quins because we're on the podcast. Just so we got
uh,
all the
uh,
evidence.
I'm sorry, mate. I just can't get the image of you saying you're going to come at me harder. It's just wrong, my friend. It's absolutely wrong.
Clip that one. Clip that one.
Clip that one is still PG. No one knows what we're saying. No one knows what we're saying. All right, then. So that is last week's all done and dusted, and still not quite a full round of fixtures, but we do have 4 to 5 this week. See, I think it was the RGC Bridgend game that has been taken out of this lot. So where to begin? Da, 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 da.
Go with Friday now because we got team news, right, for the Thursday thing. We should end on team news.
Yeah, we like to end on team news.
Yeah.
End on team news is fun. So Llandovery at home to Aberafan. I've got some coaches' comments. Mr. Nick White, wherever he is in my WhatsApp. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Good man. Okay. Disappointed with the Quins result because we felt that was a game we could have won, but our set piece didn't function well enough in the first half, and we gave ourselves too much work to do in the second. A long time to live with our loss, and we're now going to Llandovery with a real drive to put it right. The Drovers have been one of the best, if not best, team in SLC over the last 2 seasons. We know down there they're a tough team to beat, littered with talented players who've made a win in the habit. But we know on our day we're capable of beating anyone in this league. It's about putting everything we learned from the Quins game right, and with a real energy for 80 minutes. So being positive, probably more annoyed at the Quins result than anything I'm reading from that.
Mm.
And, this break, rightly or wrongly, it has come at a good time for some teams, bad time for others. Maybe having a loss hanging over them is going to, spur Aberafan on to really do something now at Drovers.
Yeah, it's not a bad layout. If you're going from a defeat at home and you're sort of saying, oh, actually, like this fucking turn this around now.
Oh,
Let's
straight away, PG's
let's
gone. PG's
let's
gone.
let's get it. Let's focus on it because ultimately there's a Tuesday and a Thursday session. I know boys will go away and watch on Huddle and stuff like that, but they can maybe get an opposition session in. Go right. Well, on one Tuesday we'll do our normal session, and then the Thursday we'll go normal. But then the next Tuesday session we'll do our usual classroom hours, but we're going to do a bit of opposition focus. And what can we pick up? What weaknesses? What areas can we target with Llandovery? And I think this is going to be a really interesting game because typically I don't feel that Aberafan are the strongest challengers on artificial turf. Um, and I think we've got two teams here that are typically very strong up front, and there's a bit of change in who they are, in terms of what your sort of packs are going to be looking like from years gone by. So I think it's going to be an open game again. I think we could see another 60 point a year, like as we saw in Church Bank sort of last week. And I think due to the Scarlets playing the same time as or the same weekend as Wales, I think we're expecting allocations to be tight. Quins' team news already told us that. And I think that could help Aberafan out as well. I think Llandovery have got a few areas that are a bit bare, either behind their own player or behind the Scarlet's allocation. I think if Aberafan can defensively tighten up, I think they've got a very good attacking squad, plenty of young, potent threats. Their pack is starting to get going well. And I'll be honest, one player I'm going to call out because I think has been playing really well is Lewis Marsh up front. He's that sort of player, that marauding figure that that everyone wants up front. And in years to come, he'll be like the captain, and he's the one everyone's looking at, and he'll have 200 games for the club and all that sort of stuff. So I think this will be a lot closer than the Llandovery Pooler game. I I still think Llandovery will have too much. I'll be honest, especially at home. I think they're too experienced and just a bit too much quality for an Aberafan side to still settling their defense down. But yeah, it's Llandovery, but I think only but by a score, 7, 8, 9 points sort of margin.
Okay, I do have one teeny tiny bit more news to share if that changes anything. Gwillem Evans will not be involved for Aberafan. He is with the Ospreys up in Edinburgh. He's captained a couple of games this season. He's a big leader in that defensive line. Now, does that change your thinking a bit? Like, does it probably edge Llandovery a little bit more?
Not not really. I just feel that Aberafan they've been reasonably settled, but they're still using a lot of combinations this season. And I know you can't factor in sometimes a loss of the experience and quality of one player. But I just feel this is going to be one of them games. You sort of it's a two-score game, but it's not like a two-try game. It's like I said, that's 7 to 10 points. And I just feel that if Aberafan can keep the scoreboard ticking early, that they've got a chance in this, but they've got to keep it ticking over. Got to take your chances when you get them. That's that red zone conversion rate is going to be key. But also let's have a bit of a kick at goal. Let's see some points. I know everyone chases bonus points in this league because you've got a 6 point and your 6 point, your 5 point bonus points for the try and your 6 pointer. Win the game and then decide by how much. So yeah, I think keeping in this one is the key for Aberafan.
Yeah, and especially when you're going away from home, don't even think about bonus points until you've got that
No,
result sorted.
yeah,
Unless you're hitting 60 minutes and you're like three scores
cruising.
behind or whatever, then you're like thinking, okay, we may need to score a few more tries to take something away from this. They need to. And, Keelan Cullen didn't start in their last game. I don't even think he was involved in the 23 at
No.
all. Actually, I think it was Charlie Thomas and Tommy Booth, if I'm remembering that rightly. So if he is back at 10, we know, he's a 90% plus goal kicker regularly.
Yeah,
So there's no
that's
reason.
that's the
Yeah,
difference as well. And it's like when someone is of that quality is missing, like he didn't win them the game against Pontypool single-handedly, but it's like that one moment of magic, and it's like just having that player that just changes it. So it's yeah, it is key. I'm just checking. So I'm sure I seen. No, I thought I'd seen an Aberafan player playing elsewhere.
might have been Crochets, because I know there's a couple of Quins boys playing Crochets.
Yeah, so I'm just checking as the Crochet squad, but it's not. It's somebody else. I thought it might have
Somebody
been.
else.
I thought it might have been Scott Whitlock playing for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh no, I think I've seen him playing somewhere, but I can't remember what or where for. Well, we'll move on. For some odd reason, we've allowed John to make his own selections this week, and it's an Aberafan match, so he's obviously gone against
Mm.
Aberafan. He's thinking with his head.
He
You
can't.
know,
This is why he can't face the podcast because he's gone with Llandovery over Aberafan.
it's
Even with a
gotta
clean
be
sweep, though, Matt. Are you allowing a clean sweep? You've got to go Aberafan now. John's boxed you into a corner.
aye. I'll make my tactical selections
I
somewhere
know your
else.
tactical selection is stupidly, gonna be
Stupidly, you mean the one that's going to be correct, like it has been correct on most Thursday night games? Come
Martin,
on now, son. Come on now. Okay,
Martin.
so clean sweep of Llandovery's over Aberafan. Next, where shall we nip to? I'll go Pontypool, Newport, a Gwent Derby. Why not? And I will find what we've had from Mr. Ty Morris, who really, 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 really enjoys chatting with us. Fair play. You got to hands up to the man. He's pretty good when it comes to engaging with this podcast. He's loving it. So super pleased with the win against Cardiff at Rodney Parade, maintaining our undefeated record against them there for 5 years, 9-10 games on the bounce there. So that was really pleasing. Leading into the week, spoke about challenging Cardiff set piece and having a fast start. I think we did it really, really well first half. Probably left some points out there with some inaccuracies, but in general, really pleased with the first 40. Second half, starting by giving away a number of penalties, allowing Cardiff back into the game. But I feel we managed to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, start controlling that final 20. And again, probably left some points out there, so could have really got the 6. But I'll take the win against a very good Cardiff. Looking at Pontypool, here we are, and another big derby game for us. It's very hard to go up to Poola and get some points and a victory in a derby. They seem to be much stronger on their own patch. They'll definitely challenge us in a different way to Cardiff. Expect their scrum to go well with a heavy pack and a mauling team, so they'll definitely test us in that area, and we'll have to be at our best. Having said that, our scrum's been superb this year, and I think we can challenge them there. Looking forward to another big derby day and hopefully getting the win and keeping the momentum going into Christmas. Ooh.
Lots to take in. I mean, there is one team that Pontypool are challenging with their front row, and that's on fucking cells.
I mean, depends on selection because I'm gonna try and nip into my little team sheet
We'll have a
reservoir by
spreadsheet.
here.
No, is it?
Gotta
It
love the
is
spreadsheet.
interesting. It is interesting fixtures like this, right? Because they're always tight, nitty gritty. It's like it's like a fight to the bottom. A Gwent derby up in the valleys is like a fight to the bottom of the barrel. Like, I don't think there was the greatest of quality games last season. Any of them, even when they played each other in the cup. I think that was a midweek game as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're looking at this one, and I'll be honest, I think Ty's looking forward because he mentions about the scrum and the maul and the successes that Newt would have had. I think they're going to be well aware that they can get on top of Pontypool and get into them, and it's bragging rights as well. You know, they've already done Ebbw Vale. If they can do Pontypool,
That'd be massive.
and 100% Gwent record at the moment. So it's yeah, that's a massive one for where they are. And like you said, I think there's two teams going in opposite directions. Pontypool started relatively okay, with their 3 wins reasonably early doors.
Yeah,
They're
first 5.
going downhill. And Newport are going, well, we didn't win any of the fucking first 5, but we've won 3 since. So we're going, oh, there we are, we've passed each other. And like I said, is that 4 points in the table difference? And like I said, I can see it. It's not going to be a big, big difference, I don't think. But I can see this being I can see this being a bit of a bonus point game as well. I can see Newport picking up a bonus point and maybe Pontypool picking up 1 or 2.
Yeah, so
But they haven't been picking their bonus points at Martin. What does the
no.
spreadsheet tell us?
Well, the spreadsheet tells us that they have signed 4 props this season, and a hooker. I'll add it in. One of those props hasn't played, Sean Hill, but we no point talking about him. And I believe all the other 3 are basically kids still in nappies: Owen Popple, Tom Sims, and Jake Wisniewski, and they've all played a fair bit. Tom Sims has had, I think, 3 starts. Owen Popple's had a couple starts. They're all very much involved. I'm looking at this by here and I'm seeing you've got Kelvin Williams, Owain James, George Tuckley, Sam Cochran, Evan Wood. These names that are Key and Best. These are renowned scrummaging front rowers, but they're not. I don't know if it's the combinations or how they're working it together, how they're trying to do it.
I th- I think that's the key. I think is the combinations. I think they haven't settled on a front 3. I think having inexperience, especially in a front row, if you've got imbalance on one side, sometimes works more against you than if you've got imbalance on 2 sides, as in like inexperience.
Yeah.
But I also think is that second row partnership they've been playing around, and You know, they've had Scott Matthews in there, Mike Hubert coming in and out of the pack behind them. Morgan Allen's been in and out of the pack. Dan Hill's been consistent. Joe Davis. How many lock pairings have they had this season? Like different lock pairings? Because Joe
So
Davis is obviously a new signing with the Dragons. Dan's
yeah.
been around a little bit, but they've probably had a couple of lock pairings, and that's where your weight is, right? That's where your big size is. That's where you're bulking up. So I'd be interested to see.
Well, saying that, they've only had three lock pairings. It has been Dan Hill and Joe Davis for the majority. Eh?
Yeah,
One game with Ian Jones and I'm gonna butcher this name as I normally do, Liam Antrobus, and then another one with Antrobus and Joe Davis. So it has been majority Dan Hill, Joe Davis. Now, Mikey Herbert's only played a handful of games,
yeah.
3, 4. Then you've got
Morgan
which
Allen's come off the bench for
which
a couple of games as well.
yeah,
Scotty Matthews is the same, and I
you've
think
got
that's the three key players to them up front.
I'm just looking at their flankers by here and that extra supporting weight. Ian Jones has, popped up at 8, so he's not being in there, which is would probably be ideal to stick him on the flank, to be honest. That extra bit of bulk. You've got Evan Minto, Ryan Jones, Callum Davis, all bouncing in and around it. Dan Hill has played 6 as well in that one lock pair and he wasn't involved in. You know, it's hard to they had Owen James, Evan Wood, and Sam Cochran as front row for the Bridgend smashing, and then it was the same front row when they got hammered by Cardiff, and it seems that they kind of scrapped it
Yeah,
from
well,
that.
that's just it. There's a reactionary because to me, like you've had a good game against Bridgend, who, if we look across the wider form, they wouldn't have known this at the time, but if we look at the form since, I think Bridgend are pretty poor. Even though we said and we openly said it on the pod that they signed well up front in those two prop positions as well. But Cardiff, I think, have got a strong front row. I don't think they've got the strongest pack. They have if everyone's there, but so it's yeah, this is what I mean. It's the combinations, right? But yeah, it's a Newport win for me. And I
Yeah,
forgot who John's gone for now.
I forgot no John Former. I'm assuming he's gone Newport because if he's not going for Aberavan, then quite frankly, he's going tactical in his
Yeah,
selection. So it's got to
he's got
be.
Newport.
So that's another clean sweep because quite frankly, really can't see Pontypool doing this. I would love for it to happen for the league, not for Ty or anyone else, just for the league, because I'm actually enjoying seeing Newport playing some decent rugby again. So over to the City Challenge. So Cardiff against Swansea, and I've got words of both of these guys, which is absolutely brilliant. So the rest from Joe, we had the first part earlier. So going into Cardiff, need to be better from the start, get out to the blocks fast, and be at the top of our game if we're going to come away with anything. Big focus on ball retention and composure. Not be desperate and force things. When we were at our best against Newport and RGC, we showed we can put phases together and play in the right areas. Doing everything to underpin that and bring the sort of intensity we talk about. Cardiff are a really good, well coached side, and we know what to expect. They move the ball really well and will attack from anywhere. So looks like they know what they need to focus on, and obviously they're aware of the threats that Cardiff bring. And quite frankly, how could you not be? Over to Mr. Fish, who has actually kindly provided us with his 23, so we have a little bit more knowledge on this game. A game of more than one day ahead, which is nice. Tough game Friday with us not getting out of the blocks and Newport piling pressure on us. Couldn't get any attack going first half due to strong Newport defence, and we allowed them far too much ball. Please going into halftime only 40-0 down, as it could have been, more given the amount of opportunities we gave them. But to be fair to the boys, they stood up well in our second part of the first half. It started off well. We threw some punches in Newport, managed to get an early try, but overall to come away with a point at the end of the game, take that and move on. Friday, Swansea home is going to be another tough game. Swansea improved massively this season and are a tough team to break down. Had a good session on Tuesday night and look to come out of the blocks Friday, as we know we can't afford to have a slow start. Loads of talk about starting fast and starting well, which it probably is a given for any team, regardless. But if we just run through the Cardiff lineup. So uh, Ben Murphy, Alan Rees, Tom Harper front row, Evan Rees and Craig Hudd in the row, Lucas Delarue, Nathan Hudd and Aled Ward back row, halfbacks Ethan Lloyd, Lloyd Lucas, Dewi Cross, Aled Summerhill, Matty Young back three, Ocean, Darwin Lewis, Elijah Evans centres. On the bench, we've got Gavin Parry, Cam Tyler Grocott, Christian Brook, Ethan Phillips, Ben Fry, Joe Williams, Steph Crimp, and Tom Williams. How dare he put Tom Williams on the bench? He's been started every single game this season. Blasphemy, I say. But after being on socials for the last few days, and more big Cardiff, more Cardiff rugby fans, been looking at their predicted 23s for their game against Zebra. That's included about 6 or 7 of the boys I've just named there. So that's a really surprisingly strong Cardiff side, given the need of the whatever you call it, the firsts. I don't know what to call it. It's a really weird combination there. But yeah, both sides really going at it, and I'm loving it. I really am.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think Cardiff are going to have far too much for Swansea, but that is a bloody good side. And like I said, that's that combination in midfield, right? We saw, ODL and Elijah coming together here. It was Elijah and Steph Manuel last season that forged that partnership, a young team that just distributed. Aled Summerhill coming back to Cardiff, playing his first game last week. Matty Young is starting to really look good since coming back into the squads and looks a lot more depth at fullback than Reece Cummins has. I think obviously no Joe Goodchild in there, but Derry Cross is an absolute try machine again this year. And I'd be honest, Ethan Lloyd and Lloyd Lucas are starting to settle as a half-back pairing. So even though I've been a bit unsure about them at times, you can see them starting to settle. And yeah, it's the surface, it's the occasion. I just think they're going to have far too much for Swansea. That is a bloody good pack. It's the depth is there. I mean, Gavin Parry, I know really solid up there coming on for Alan Rees. Again, we talk about that depth across positions. Grocott and Brook, Phillips and Fry adding in the weight behind and quality. That's a 23 that would trouble most teams in this league, I'll be honest. And I just think Swansea are a bit loose maybe around an all-round game at the moment. I don't think they're quite defensively astute and maybe a bit weaker up front. So yeah, I think Cardiff will get definitely 5 out of this. I'd be honest, I'm even borderline in 6 for Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a given they're getting 4 tries. I mean, I'll be honest, I think it might be a given for the both of them to be getting at least 4 tries in this game. When we're talking that the likes of that big fullback and Ian Cornelius, that big fullback being Lewis Edwards, I keep forgetting to say his name after that. Lewis Edwards, Ian Cornelius, these boys, they do score, and they score some amazing tries. So the one thing for me looking at that back line for Cardiff is you've got, okay, he's not the oldest, but you've got someone like Ethan Lloyd, Dewi Cross, and Aled Summerhill really bringing some seniority and some calm into that, and just really guiding these younger players around them. Like you said, Matty Young has been absolutely brilliant since he's come back. He's made it look a walk in the park, especially that first game when he danced around 1,000 people to just walk under the sticks. It's embarrassing at times how good some of these players can actually be. Get them going consistently, and they'll be playing pro in bloody no time whatsoever. I mean, I think this is Ben Murphy's first start, so it'll be interesting how he goes for more than just a half. He hasn't played a lot of rugby. Obviously, Sean Moore not being there because of that red we talked about earlier. Evan Rees and Craig Hudd is a partnership we haven't seen this season. Evan Rees has only played once in the row this season. I don't believe he played a great deal there last season either, so that's going to be interesting because for whatever reason, they're without Tom Carter. And, obviously, he's another lock that's come south from RGC, and he has been the mainstay for them. Obviously, they've got Ethan Phillips on the bench, which, Christ, that says enough for strength. You know what I mean? I haven't sound like Ethan Phillips on the bench. But I'm just trying to look at, you look at places to target. You're probably thinking maybe the lineout might be slightly weaker, having Ben Murphy and, Evan Reese at lock, not having, because he usually plays 8 if I'm not wrong. So having someone that's not generally a jumper, and then dropping that, and then obviously having a new lifter in there. I think Cardiff's lineout is probably something they might be able to target, which it'd be good to see. Obviously we'll have to wait to get the highlights whenever they may come. Hopefully next week, once all these silly Wales games are over and done with, we'll actually get some consistency on the highlights.
See, I
But
think we should start the vicious rumour that the reason that Harry Deeves was dropped from the Wales squad is because Swansea wanted him for the Cardiff game. Yeah, I've started it. Let's do it.
wow, that's the rumor. That is the
Yeah,
rumor, and it's
that is
happened.
the rumour that we've just started,
Yeah.
that we've heard on the grapevine.
Yeah. It was the WRU that wanted him for Cardiff. We got to make sure it's done right, because obviously we know Cardiff are the favourite child.
You
But no,
pesky jerks.
pesky you fucking fuck off,
You got him.
Eugene.
Here you go. Is nearly
Eugene,
television.
fuck off.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
we've got
we're
him.
done. We're done. We're
Oh,
going.
the PG pod is
Okay,
gone. Martin's
okay,
cussing.
okay. You go in Cardiff. Where did Miss Bucky go?
John went Cardiff as well.
Okay, so that means it's another,
Ooh,
another.
all nine predictions the same so far, and I got a
Oh,
feeling this is the one that you're using. You're taking a community chest card at you, and he's looking to pay dividends. Unfortunately, Rachel Reeves
community
just announces that there is a Carmarthen Quins tax and is going to pay for Martin.
is going to pay absolutely in dividends for years and years to come. So, come on, why have I put all the letters in Quins here? I just need the Q, otherwise it's too long for my box on the spreadsheet.
Oh, he's panicking now. Like
No,
he's
no, no,
so
not. I
basically,
need to
guys,
get
he, the team news came out. The Ebbw Vale team news obviously was after Carmarthen Quins, and Martin started
because we know
panicking.
Ebbw are always late, as we know.
He started panicking. See, he's doing it again.
Aye, aye.
He's throwing more shade than a cloud on a summer's day, and he's starting to panic.
The hell is that? Oh my god. Oh, yeah. I'm getting winded by you. Okay, just a quick short comment from Steph Thomas. Um, Head off to Ebbw Vale for one of the toughest challenges on the road. Probably not really. We've had a difficult prep for the game, but all energies are focused on going to Eugene Cross and putting in the performance we've talked about. Excited, looking forward to showing what our young squad is capable of. Very much the exact same from Jason Strange. Just looking forward to the game. So let's delve into some squads. Traveling squad. So Quins, Quins first, because we know Quins will be first on the day as well. Reese
Goes back
Fawcett,
on the
Lewis.
fucking bus.
Shut up. Reese Fawcett, Lewis Morgan, Connor Allen front row, Tom Phillips, Lee Taylor in the row. Yestin Richards, Sean Evans, Lewis Millen back row. Halfbacks, Rodri Lewis, Ellis Price, Thomas Williams, Ivan Davis, and Steph Evans, the back three. And the centres, Jack Howells and Elan Phillips. Oof. On the bench, then we got Gruff Williams, Lewis Jones, Evan James, Ryan Bean, Ocean Williams, Ben Williams, Bowen Clark, Alia. I don't know how to say that properly, George. Why do I butcher things so badly? So 6-2 split for Quins there. Shall I let you read out your teams?
I like that
The
Quinn
men.
squad, to be honest. I like
The,
this squad a lot better. It's just greatness. Everywhere you look at this 23 is greatness, Martin.
except the ones that are numbered.
Yeah. Now you got Luke Garrett, Yaya Morris, top try scorer now with 12. And the stat you referred to earlier, Martin, is that Ebbw Vale have got more hookers with tries than Llandovery have hookers with minutes.
And that is Ebbw Vale have 3 hookers have scored tries, and Llandovery have only used 2 hookers this season.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Go for it. Keep going, bud. Keep going.
But yes, it's interesting. He's got Morgan Basanko's coming now. No Adam Court on that one side. Joe Franchi back from holidays now on the bench. Morgan Williams, Adam Williams, the 2 replacement props. Dylan Bartlett, Curtis Gregory in the second row. Dylan obviously came off the bench after injury away to RGC, so he's back fit. Jack Pope 6, Ben Main 7, and Ryan Jenkins for the first time this season starts at 8. that's going to be a massive boost for Ebbw Vale having him back. I'll be honest, because as
Easy
much
target.
as good as Owen Conker's been, is he's one of them players that last year did make a massive impact.
I
Obviously
can't
got
argue that.
Griff Tough 9, Dorian Jones 10, and they've gone with Evan Lloyd back to 15. Obviously, they went Morgan Richards that started at fullback against RGC. He moves to 23. Dav Thomas and Ewan Bowden, the usual winger pair, and Ethan Phillips, Dom Francie, usual centre partnership. So, I'll be honest, it's all regulation. Lewis Young, Joe Rees Weldon, Rory Harry's up for 50 games, Cam Davis on the bench. It's a relatively settled side. I think it's quite strong in areas. Like I said, Joe Franchi back in the 23, Dylan Bartlett back in the starting lineup, Ryan Jenkins making a start. Obviously, Sean Parry's been off with Canada, so they'll be getting rested. They always rest him after the international periods because obviously it is a different level of rugby to just playing you. Obviously switched around Morgan and Evan, but it's pretty settled. And like you said, I think we've got a lovely clash here at front. I know I said it earlier when we first seen the team news come out, but I like that Quins team. Fawcett, Morgan, Allen, Phillips, and Taylor. That's just experience. It's solid. They know each other. It's quality. And I've openly said it. Reese Fawcett, he may still be in the running for this. Is the best player in the SRC right now. Give it to a prop.
Give it to a
Don't,
prop.
yeah, just give it to him.
Not even a hook. Don't give it to a hooker. Give it to a prop because that's who truly deserve awards right now. And
But
if you don't know what I'm referring to, don't know what I'm referring to. Just pray for Ox. Pray for Ox. But yeah, like I think we're maybe only two players away from being the absolute best pack we could possibly put out. I'd probably swap Ben Williams and Easton Richards, but that's personal preference. Backline is it's more with the benches that's my concern. We've got Bowen Clark, who's a young nine, a really, really young nine. I think this will only be his second or third game if he comes off the bench. Rodri Davis not involved. That's a worry for me. Carwyn Leggett Jones, who has been brilliant in his few appearances, is being held back by the Scarlets. Actually, might be making his competitive debut this Saturday after making his regular debut, if that's what you call it, in a friendly against Harlequins this past week. Then you got, Gabe McDonald and Yori Badam, who are also being kept by Scarlets as well. Gabe and Yori are straight back in our back line. Do you make them available? Jack Howells moves to 13 and Gabe comes in because they got that connection. Not that I necessarily think Jack Howells is as good as Elan Phillips or vice versa, but that's just how the combinations are gone. And, Yori Badam, he's just magic. Absolute magic. Having it, Thomas Williams he's been a revelation coming in on the left wing this season. But when you stick Yori Badam in there as well with Steph Evans, that's just too much power. Too much power in the back three. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm absolutely over the moon with it. But it's going to be a battle of packs. We know it's going to be a battle of packs. And, obviously you don't have Adam Court. We don't have Isaac Young or Sam O'Connor, who we've had featured a few times this season. So
this is going to be a really tasty battle, isn't it? Because normally a team a game like this is like, one team's in good form or the other's not, or there's loads of players missing. I think it'll be interesting because I think we're very closely tied up front. I think it'll be down to a few things. I'm interested to see two things up front. It sounds very simple, but how the Ebbw Vale lineup goes and can Quinn stop them all? If they stop them all, I think it'll be a big step towards getting a victory in this game. But also, how does Quins go in the scrums? I think that's a scrummaging setup. I think they have quite a stationary outfit at times, but they're changing that up front with the likes of Reese Fawcett. He's been all over the place. Lewis Morgan coming back in. But then I'm also interested just to see how much Ebbw Vale distribute this ball out wide because I think the back the packs are pretty even, right? I think the Ebbw Vale pack is probably slightly better. But I think the back line is where the gap starts opening up, and then that's that bench. So I think it'd be very interesting to see how much Ebbw Vale split it. And of course, that can be conditions as well. It's going to be frosty underfoot. Definitely going to be frosty. So it'll be a bit of a slick ball. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if Ebbw Vale can get that foot in early doors. And I think what we might see is they're going to vary it up. I think you might see a few of them trick mauls to start where you think they're going to engage it, but it comes off the top, and Griff plays some back moves, especially with Evan Lloyd coming in. That's a dual distributor in that back line. So you've got Dorian and Evan playing.
Yeah, but you forget how good Steph Evans is at stepping in and being that
Who?
distributor too. You know he is. He's a man that hasn't played URC rugby for like 3 years, and he's
Oh,
still
the
got
old
line
fat,
breaks for
the old
fun.
fat retired bloke. Ah, yeah, I don't know.
You can't speak about players like that, but it's not. It's not nice. It's not
Oh
fun.
fuck.
It's not fair. What's the word for it? Defamatory. I don't know. Someone's coming after you.
He
Be
is
nice.
old. He is old, and he
Oh,
is
old is fine. Yeah.
and he is retired, and he is podgy. He is Martin.
It's the t-shirt. It's the
Is the
t-shirt.
T.
He's wearing padding, honestly. But no,
Oh.
I, you know, for
All right,
me,
right,
look, shut up. You've had your five
oh.
minutes of glory.
Right, so John is let's set the scene. John has gone Ebbw Vale, right? So at the moment, that's the scene.
John being wrong is that's the normal scene, my
Well,
friend.
you just ruined the scene, Marcus. You've given away the fucking prediction.
You give away yours about 6 hours ago before we even started recording. No, I think you are right in terms of the lineout being a big place and obviously that mall. But like, if we look at what happened last year at Eugene Cross, and Quins have always had a good pack. And they were, like you said, they were in that game for 70 minutes last in different pod, different times. People, I'm referring to past editions if you knew you. And I think the pack has definitely taken a step up this year. Sean Evans' introduction into this team has been huge. Tom Phillips being back fit, he only made it through the first block last season properly. And having that 6-2 split, having, two flankers, two back rowers like Ben Williams and Ocean Williams to come on, honestly, I think that's going to be a point of difference. I think the back row battle is going to be a big one. Obviously, I know you've got, what was it, Gardner, Jenkins coming back. Ben Main's not usually your main starter. So,
No, but that's just it. I think the thing with Ben, it was weird. So Sean is always going to be a natural seven. You've got Lewis Young who can play all the back row
yeah.
positions, but we play Jack Pope because he's the extra line-out option. But Ben came back from a nasty bit of injury from last season. He came up from Abergavenny a couple of years ago and sort of has been mixed sort of game time since with sort of injuries. He had a really nasty sort of bout of it last season, so it's taken him out of it. And I think they was going to do it before Cardiff wimped out because that was the last time where Sean Parry was just off international duty. So they rested him, and they've done the same year. Obviously, he's been away with Canada. They've brought him back. Ben will start. So that back row could be interesting. So as you say, is Ben's coming back in. Ryan Jenkins' first game of the season. He's been integrated. He's been doing his training every session, right? He's been mixing it in and doing his sort of his own
Yeah.
individual physio. But it's not the same. But yeah, just gonna tank Quinn, send him fucking home.
Shut up, shut up. Obviously,
Yeah, he's got it,
Quins,
everybody. He's gone
Quins,
again.
Quins are winning. So I'm going to be a bit of a realist by you. I've spoken about the back line, and it's it's not a settled partnership in the centres. And even though if by choice I would put I'd be playing an even younger number 10, not seeing the sort of control from Ellis Price that I would really like to see, especially for games like this, because discipline and the kicking game are going to be absolutely huge. They talk about obviously a double figure penalty count being the target. Try and keep it under double figures. Quite frankly, we got to keep it on one hand, because if Ebbw Vale get a penalty, you kick into touch, and then it's just a knock on effect. Even if you get a penalty on your own 5 meter line, you kick it 25 meters, you take your line out, you get your maul, you get a penalty, and it just goes on and on and on. Boring as shit, which is what we
I
used to from Ebbw Vale. But
I was actually at an Ebbw Vale game where the opposition won by kicking 10 penalties. And that's a true story. Whitland away must have been 15 years ago. The
Whitland, Jesus, you are
Yeah,
going back.
yeah. The team bus broke down on the way, so the supporters pulled into the
Excuses, yeah.
services, give them their bus. So we all rocked up about 10 minutes before kick-off. And yeah, we scored 29 points. Whitland kicked 10 penalties and beat us 30-29. It was our only loss of the season. And we beat them 66-0 in the return fixture.
Gee, well, just, just how. I mean, Christ, I think
Why do I know that stat off the top of my head? There's no notes here if anyone's listening. That was not a planned comment. I just know those two fixtures from
but that
15 years ago. And I also know we were playing in pink because we did our breast cancer kit that year.
yeah, but that's obviously like super ingrained into you. And now, like 15 years on,
Oh,
Whitland
we
are absolutely struggling in. So let's see. So we got SRC. Say SRC is tier one because it is top tier Welsh domestic rugby. So Premiership tier two, Championship tier three, Division One tier four, Division Two tier five. They're playing in tier five and they are struggling. They are. I mean, I don't know if this is the most up to date table because I don't update them every single week, but they are in the relegation zone in Division Two West. That's only two leagues off the absolute bottom. That's how far Whitland have gone in 15 years. They were always known as such powerhouses, and I can even go back 15 years and think about the likes of Aled Davis that was coming through the ranks there. We know how he went on to be a Welsh international, plays Scarlets, Ospreys, Saracens, etc. They've obviously Mikey Phillips. They've got a great history of nines there. So I know we've gone off topic by here, but that's just
this
how
is
it
the
goes
this is
sometimes.
just the value adds of the SRC podcast, Martin, isn't it?
It is. We got to add extra details because we're not just SRC. We know everything.
Here we are.
Like,
13 years ago, October 20th.
yeesh.
Whitland 30, Ebbw Vale 29.
Why have we got Quitland? Is that because they've
That's
quit
because
and
I
gone
was
down to see 3 weeks?
yeah.
So bad,
The
so
only
bad.
only loss of the season. I think they finished bottom that season, Whitland, actually.
So what? That was obviously a second tier
That
fixture. That
yeah,
couldn't have been.
yeah, no, that was before Ebbw Vale went up. So that was the championship, which was tier two at the time.
Yeah, I mean, tough times for Whitland. But yeah, Ebbw Vale have moved on. I mean, we're talking about a massive game by year between Ebbw Vale and Carmarthen Quins. Neither really in history being forefront runners in top divisions, but
Except
here
that
we
time when
are.
Ebbw Vale won the league, Martin. Come on! Won at the Sardis Road and they didn't like it up them.
That was a mistake, wasn't it? Ponty put out there under 16s
Absolutely hammered them. On TV. And I
on
get that fucking clip
TV.
up and all because you can see me in the fucking crowd.
Oh, what we're going to see? 2-year-old robberies because it must have been that long ago.
Ah, black
Nah,
and white, but they are.
black and white. Yeah, you look like you're in your 90s. Jesus. Okay, so obviously I'm going Quins. Obviously Quins are going to win because it's the TV fixture, and when I make a comment on the TV fixture, it goes my way. So yeah,
You're wrong. That's all I've got to say.
I'm wrong.
You're
So
wrong.
we've probably spent the last 10 minutes basically going back and forth saying shit. We'll end it on this note. You got some brilliant rugby coming to you on Thursday night, watching on S4C as Carmarthen Quins absolutely plunder and pillage Eugene Cross. There's another word you use when you do things like that, but I think that's probably a little bit too 18 plus for this, and they
Go
they
on,
won't
Matt.
they won't show it.
Don't
They won't
help
show it.
yourself.
I'm not saying it. That's bad taste.
You're
Like
being judged.
like calling someone fat. That's really in bad taste. Okay. Okay, we just got to end it. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back next week celebrating the Quins
You'll
win.
be right back. You're on fucking daytime television, you dark bastard. Fucking episode of fucking Loose Women, man.
We seem like it, to be honest, the way this spot has gone, to be fair. But no, I'm not going to say thank you to Rob because you're playing with a dog's paws at me right now. The audio listeners are not going to have a clue what happens on these pods sometimes.
Just
Absolutely
go to
amazing.
YouTube and watch the last watch the last 10 minutes of this podcast.
Just going back and forth. I've had kids banging on my door trying to get in on the podcast, honestly. They do it every week, but no, not this
And
week.
give better fucking predictions than you fucking would.
4 for 4 this week, 100%. You were getting nothing, son. Absolutely nothing. Even though you predicted 3 the same as me. I don't know how that's going to work, but still. Oh, is that how many fingers you got? Don't develop you that well down east today. There we go. Okay, thank you for listening. We will be back next week. We're not right back. We'll be back next week with another podcast. And Rob's probably not going to be here because he's still going to be
I'm
crying.
still going to be celebrating the win. I'm at the ground tomorrow. Quins won't have even got home. The bus would have stuck down on the fucking new edge of the valleys roads. It'll
So
probably be about an hour home now for them.
if you are watching the game tomorrow or probably
I
tonight
am. I'm
or
going to
today,
be
no,
at the
no, 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 no,
fucking
no, no,
game.
no, not you, the
All right.
people, the
All right.
people. If the people are watching the game tomorrow
Oh.
or tonight, whenever you listen to this, even if you go back and watch it, if you want to spot Rob in the crowd, you look for the podgy guy on his own. Okay,
Steph Evans is going to be in the crowd.
man of the match.
Hey.
You've already got it. It's going to be tied between him and Sean Evans. The two S Evans boys are going to tear Eugene apart. You know, like you said, it's a frozen ground. It's hard underfoot. Oh my God, they're going to play some running rugby and put you in the ground. They'll dig through it with all that scrummaging and mauling they're going to do to you. Absolutely destroy you, my friend. Okay, that's it for that little whatever that was. That was really weird. Sorry. Thank you. See you next week. Thanks for joining. Like, share, subscribe, do your thing. And as always, super.
Super.